Hello students. In previous lecture we studied about the different types of forces. First of all we discussed about the force, then types of forces. In this lecture we will study about the effect of forces. What is the effect of forces? Means what change occur when we apply a force on an object, on moving object, on stationary object. That is the effect of forces. First of all, these are the effect of forces. First, force can change state of motion or rest. Second, force can change direction of motion of moving object. Force can change shape and size of object. Force can stop a moving object. Force can change the speed of moving object. These are the effect of forces. First of all, force can change state of motion or rest. There are three states, that is state of rest, state of motion, and state of direction. First of all, force can change state of motion or rest. When we apply a force, then there is a change due to effect of force. For example, this is your football and velocity of this football is 0. That is, football is in rest or stationary position. This is your stationary position. When we apply a force on a football, then there is a motion. When we apply a force, then there is a motion. So this is your state of rest, and after application of force there is a change in state of rest and football in motion. Therefore, due to effect of force, body change their state of rest into state of motion. This is your example. A force can make a stationary body move. When you kick a stationary football, it moves. Means we change the state of rest of football into state of motion. Force acting on a body does not change its mass. When we apply the force on a body, then there is no change in mass, but there is some effects due to the application of force, and there is no change in mass of body. And first effect is, that is, force acting on a body can change its state of motion or state of rest, and in first example there is change in state of rest when we apply a force on a football. Second example, a force can stop a moving body. If this is your moving body, for example this is your moving body and moving with some velocity v, if we apply a force from opposite direction, then there is change in state of body, and body can stop by applying this force. Therefore, second example is, force can stop a moving body. After applying a force, we can stop a moving body. For example, a fielder catch a moving cricket ball to stop its motion. Next example, a force can increase the speed of moving object. This is your example. This is your moving object, that is car in motion, and if we apply a force in the direction of motion, this is the direction of motion, and if we apply a force in the direction of motion, then there is increase in speed. After application of force, there is increase in speed of object. If we apply a force in the opposite direction of motion, this is the direction of motion of object or motion of car. If we apply a force in opposite direction, there is decrease in speed decreases in this case. Therefore, due to effect of force, we can make a stationary body move. First, we can stop a moving body, and we can increase or decrease the speed of body. These are the examples of change in state of body and in first example there is a change in state of rest, and in second we change state of motion into state of rest, and in third case when we apply a force in the direction of motion there is increase in speed, and if we apply a force in the opposite direction of motion there is decrease in speed. Next example, a force can decrease of moving object. If we apply a force in the opposite direction then there is a decrease in speed of object. Second effect of force, that is force can change the direction of motion of a moving object. After application of force we can change the direction of motion. This is your example, batsman hit a ball, that is change the direction of object. In this case after applying the force there is change in direction of ball. There are many activities that show that force can change the direction of motion of a moving object. During game of cricket, the batsman change the direction of moving ball by touching or striking it with the bat at a suitable angle. After application of force there is change in direction of motion. When you pass alongside a bus or truck amid smoke, you wave the smoke away by moving your hand. Your moving hand exerts force on smoke and pushes it away. Suppose this is your smoke, and when you apply a force on a smoke with your hand then there is a change in direction of smoke. This is your example that after application of force we can change the direction of motion. Next is, with the application of force we can change the shape and size of an object, and these are the example. In first example this is your balloon, and after application of force shape of balloon can be changed. On pressing we can change the shape of balloon. On pressing means we apply a force. This is your spring in normal position. When we apply a force then there is a change in shape of spring. Shape of spring change on pulling. So after application of force there is change in shape of spring. This is your sponge. When we apply a force on a sponge there is change in shape of sponge, that is shape of sponge change on pressing. So on pressing we change the shape of sponge. Then here this is your toothpaste tube, and we can change the shape of toothpaste tube after applying a force. The shape of toothpaste tube change on squeezing. So these are the example that when we apply a force the force can change the shape of body. When a force is applied on a soft object it changes the size and shape of the object. For example, when an inflated balloon is pressed between the two hands its shape and size change. Second, when a bag of wheat flour is pressed its shape change. In fact it can be given any shape. So it means when we apply a force on a soft object then there is a change in shape of object. These are the examples. When a spring is pulled its shape and size change. Foam or sponge can be compressed by applying a force on it. Shape of toothpaste tube change on squeezing. Next is, what is the next effect of force? A force can stop a moving object. So after applying a force we can stop a moving object. These are the examples. When we apply a force on the wall can stop, and if we apply a brake then after application of force or after application of brake we can stop the bicycle. This is your first example. A fielder catches a moving cricket ball to stop its motion. Second, a moving cycle can brought to be rest by applying a brake. After application of force we can change the state of motion into state of rest. When a force is applied on a moving object in opposite direction it can be bring the moving object to rest, and this is the important term, that is to stop the moving object, we apply a force in opposite direction. If we apply a force in the same direction, then there is increase in speed, and if we apply the force in opposite direction, then there is decrease in speed, or maybe we can able to stop a moving object. So this is your effect, that force can stop a moving object. Next, a force can change the speed of moving object. So after application of force, we can increase the force, increase the motion of object, or decrease the motion of object, and that depend upon the direction of application of force. If this is the direction of motion of object, this is the direction of motion of object, if we apply a force in the direction of motion of object, then there is increase in speed. And if we apply a force in the opposite direction of motion, this is the direction of motion and this is the direction of force, both are in opposite direction. If we apply a force in the opposite direction of motion, then there is a decrease in speed. Here in this example, we represent a force in term of vector, and this is a motion, that is velocity. Because force is a vector quantity and unit of force is Newton, this is the SI unit of force. CGS unit of force is dyne. What is the SI unit of force? SI unit of force is Newton and CGS unit of force is dyne. Second, force is a vector quantity, and we represent a force in term of vector. The length of this vector represent the magnitude, and arrow of this vector, head of this vector, give the direction of force. Here we apply a force, this is the direction of force, this is the direction of force. In both the cases, direction of force is opposite. If we apply a force in the direction of motion, there is increase in speed, and if we apply a force in the opposite direction, there is decrease in speed. Decrease in speed means length of this vector is greater than the length of this vector. Here magnitude of vector, this is the magnitude of vector, that is length of vector is the magnitude of vector. This is greater than the magnitude of this vector. Therefore, we represent given quantity in term of vector, and length of vector give the magnitude. Here length of vector is greater, therefore magnitude is greater because there is increase in speed, that is increase in velocity. Here magnitude is smaller, that is in this case there is decrease in velocity.